Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Now, today's topic is how to stop comparing yourself to other coaches. Now, this is something that we see time and time again, and everyone's been guilty of it at different times as well. And we've been guilty of it in the past when we've been in the gym environment, and you're always looking at what other people are doing, what they're charging, what they're posting on social media, and then often just beating yourself up because of it. So what we want to do in this episode is give you strategies that are going to help you overcome that, to stop doing those things, to actually propel yourself forward, focus more on you rather than everyone else.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite topics because as humans, we're definitely guilty of this, and I think as humans, we're constantly fighting against it as well because it's just natural. Humans are designed to, like in tribes thousands of years ago, you would look the same, you would dress the same with your wee fucking, I don't know, colours or whatever they put on
Your
there.
keyed on, yeah.
Everybody looked, and if you looked different, you were probably not in the tribe. There was another tribe and you'd fight and you'd kill each other. It's in the DNA of humans to be like that. So for me, it's a constant struggle, like, to do it. I think that's why it's important to talk about it, because it's probably correct to say that you and I both get better at this over time. I used to be bad for it, like, definitely. So it's very relatable. We've all been there, and we'll all draw ourselves back to it at times, but it's about finding ways to, like, put a stop on it when you know you're doing it. Or you're scrolling and you're like, oh, what's that guy doing, or what's she doing? And then you make a wee snide comment because you're triggered by something that she's done that's probably an insecurity of yours in some way. So yeah, I think it's one of my favourite topics to talk about, because I think everybody listening is going to be like, fuck, that's me.
Yeah, I think definitely start, the first thing I'll go off with this is start being very mindful of who you get your advice from, who you're communicating with, and what you're consuming. Because, look at people, and you know this yourself, and I think people don't know enough of, well, they not necessarily don't know enough, they don't say no enough, and they don't know when to kind of hold back. And we've all been there. I remember being in the gym and be sitting in the consultation and I'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, so-and-so's walked in because he's going to talk shite about something. Like, he's going to bring my mojo right down. And it's being brave enough and strong enough to change that environment. Yeah. You don't have to be a dick about it. You don't have to say, I'm not interested in listening to you. You can just start working in coffee shops instead. When you want to get some solid work done, don't do it where you're always getting distracted. Yeah. I think I might have mentioned this on another podcast before, but I remember we had someone on Arrival X in the past, and they were quite a young new coach. I think it was Emma. Emma was one of the young coaches we had at the time, and I remember she would do our group Zoom calls in the consultation, not the consultation room, in the staff room, I think it was, or consultation, one or the other. And there was other PTs there that would always try and come in and shut the laptop.
Yeah,
they'd just come in and try and annoy her, tap her on the shoulder, and they come in and out. And it's like, one thing that always hit home for me good few years ago now was the reason people do this, and I want people to kind of visualize this for a sec, is imagine you've got like a kind of little bubble. You're in this PT bubble with other coaches there. People want to see you do the same as them or worse than them. Nobody wants to see you climb out of that bubble or do better. So what tends to happen is, in Emma's situation, if she starts to try and like break away from that bubble and starts to improve herself, it makes everyone else around her feel uncomfortable because it exposes what they're not doing in their business.
Yep.
And they start to look at her and they think, shit, like, I don't want her to do that. That's uncomfortable for me. So then they try and pull her and tear her back down and bring her back into the bubble. That's why they shut the laptop. That's why they say, why you spend your money on that? Why are you wasting your time doing this?
Yep.
It's all around this same thing. So, and it's tough for people because, if you're not strong enough and you feel a little bit unsure, that can get in your head, and that can get in your internal dialogue, and that can really affect you.
Yeah.
So definitely, first and foremost, to start this podcast, I would say be very, very mindful of who you're spending your time with and who you're consuming your content from.
You ever heard the crab analogy? They talk about that. You put a bunch of crabs in a hole, and one tries to climb out, the other ones all grab it back in. That's a true thing.
Same idea.
So when they climb out, they're all like, where's he going?
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not thinking that deep because they're fucking crabs, but some instinct in them is fucking whatever they are. They just try and drag you back in, man. And that's the best analogy I've ever heard for the stuff that you just said there, mate. It's the exact same thing. People feel uncomfortable when you're growing. You see it in relationships with people as well. Mm-hmm. If a guy and a girl have been together for maybe 5 years, and then the guy or the girl decides to start trying to better themselves, the other partner might feel really insecure because what if she leaves me? What if like she gets better, meets a better guy than me, and all this shit? So it's wired inside our heads, mate. And I think the comparison thing you made there was perfect for what we're talking about. How I learned to deal with all that shit over time in terms of comparing myself with others and letting other people's opinions influence me. I'm quite direct, and the way my brain works is just pure black and white. I started thinking to myself, see that person that made that comment about me? Could they give a fuck if I get fucking ran over tomorrow? If my granny died? If something happened to me? And see, the answer is no. Why would you give a fuck about what they're doing? I know it sounds direct and people probably can't relate to that, but that's how my brain works. Like, the only people that really matter about comparison and opinion in my life is like the people really close to me. That's it. I'm not interested in the guy in the fucking consultation room shutting a laptop over and all that rubbish. So that's a really direct way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
It might work for some people, but it might not. It might still drag them back in.
No, let's say from that, let's kind of talk about that in more detail. Let's say for someone that doesn't come to naturally, what are some of the kind of things that they can do to have a bit more resilience and have a little bit more self-confidence and be able to say no?
It's pattern recognition. So it's like any habit or any sort of behaviour. If you know that you're culpable of like letting other people put you down or comparing yourself with others and all that, you need to recognise when it's happening and then ask yourself the question. It might not be as direct a question as I just said there, but that's how I do it. So you recognise, you're like, shit, I'm comparing myself with others. Why am I doing that? So I start asking myself why I'm scrolling on Instagram. Why am I looking at other mentors' pages? Why am I doing that? And it's usually a fear and behind all that somewhere that might just come and go in flashes, because we're all human at the end of the day. We're not fucking robots. But yeah, I think they need to recognise the pattern. So maybe it's like, say it happens and you reflect on your day, you might want to just write it down. Like today, it's 7. I know it sounds a bit fucking airy-fairy or whatever people say, but write it down. Today in the office, Josh was doing X, Y, and Z. I felt like this. What can I do next time to make sure I don't feel that way again? And it works, mate. Like, writing stuff down and journaling does work. People think it doesn't, but it's proven it does, mate. And I've used journals now for on and off. I'm not like religious 365 days of the year, but I use them on and off, and I probably use them more when I'm maybe not feeling like super amazing. I'm letting instant gratification get to me. I'm letting maybe the business isn't moving as quick as I would like it to, even though it's moving really well. Compare myself with others, and I'm like, right, I need to journal and get all this out of my head so that I can make sense of it. So for me, that's like a direct strategy that would just absolutely work for people, but they have to recognise it. It can take time.
No, I'd agree with that 100%. And it's understanding like what works for you. You know, none of this stuff's one size fits all. And like, you know, me and you're quite similar in the sense, like I can't concentrate and do work in a coffee shop, for example. Like, that just would drive me mad. Like people chatting and talking, like I wouldn't be able to focus. I can't really work with music on. Like I like complete and utter silence, and I like just being able to kind of go from there. That's when I get most creative thoughts, and that's when I start getting things done. So if you're someone similar as well, then you need to understand that. So if you have been in a busy gym and you're trying to get stuff done on the table, like go sit in your car, or like go to a room that's quiet, or go somewhere that's quieter that you could, like a library, for example. Yeah. You know, start rattling out things there and get those things done. You know, same for like a lot of the people that work from home as well, like online coaches and stuff like that as well, or even just PTs with kids. Like if you're at home and you're trying to get your work done while the kids are running about as well, like that can be very distracting for you as well. So making specific time, non-negotiable time in your week, because everyone's got time in the week. You've just got to make it non-negotiable and prioritize it. Yeah. Find where that time is and, you know, make it non-negotiable and stick to it religiously, and have a specific place where you go to that gets that stuff done, and having these tasks, you know, in priorities of like urgent all the way down of like, what do I need to do right now, and just do one at a time. The thing that annoys us most, if we jump on a Zoom call with a coach and we see like 30 tabs open, you know, that drives me nuts. If I see someone with 30, 40 tabs open on their laptop, I'm like, nah, get them shut. Like that it stresses me out, because it's like, you're just scatterbrain. Like nothing is specific here. So I think, knowing yourself and knowing your environment, finding an area where you can really knuckle down and get work done is going to make a big difference. Yeah, because then you're not sitting around a bunch of PTs comparing to their fake stories and stuff like that as well, like in the office. Let's chat about, because it presents itself in Unrivaled X a lot, and I don't know if you get like the private messages from people, but sometimes, say one coach, we've got ads out for all the coaches for their business, and one coach is getting like 35 leads and the other coach has got 12 leads, and they're selling maybe one or two more than them, and I get a text saying, God, I feel like I'm really behind on my sales because this X, Y, and Z guy's doing that. And I'm like, what's that got to do with you? Why are you comparing yourself to, say, Andy? Why are you comparing yourself to Andy? What's that got to do with your business?
Nah, but he's made 3 sales a day, I've only made 1. I'm like, what's a good day with you? That's not your mission. Your mission's your mission.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think and everybody's at different places. Everybody that comes out in Rival X, they're not all like super amazing at sales or amazing at all the things that matter in business. You might be, well, you are amazing at creating content. I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I'm not amazing at that. I'm amazing on sales calls. I'm not saying you're not, but I'd probably get a bit of skill set there.
100%.
But I don't compare myself and be like, oh, Josh is amazing at creating content, man. I wish I could. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like these other coaches, they'll be like, I've only made 1 sale a day. I'm like, well, good. Well
Yeah.
done. You've made another 175 quid and you felt there's going to be a brand new person coming into your business.
Yeah.
Worry about your mission.
Yeah. And people, people might look at us and say like, how are they making X amount of money or how have they done this type of thing? And it's practice. Like we've got the reps in.
100%.
Like just the other week there, we launched the ad for the gym, made about 7.5 grand in the week.
Yep.
Just from front end income. And it's like, how do we do that? Well, the leads weren't any better than any of the other leads we got anyone else. It's not that we live in a super rich area.
No.
It's because we know what to do and we have a product that we know inside out. We have 100% certainty we can deliver the result we promise. And we know how to articulate it and use, ask powerful questions and get people to think about, like, is this something that, is this person someone that we want to work with? We have a structure for that as well. And then tell them about the product if we feel they're a good fit. It's having this strategy and this structure that makes all the difference. So it's when coaches, the worst thing coaches can do is if they're like, when they are comparing, is they start making excuses for why it's not happening. And it's never them that's the issue. It's always, maybe it's Brexit, or maybe it's the time of the year. I heard November's
cost of
always a
living.
quiet month, or cost of living, or the Russia nonsense. Like, none of that matters unless you consume that and you focus on that. What you create, you become. Like, if you focus on that, you're going to see it as a negative. If you focus on it being, being optimistic, then, you're likely going to be successful.
What does it come back to though? It comes back to, if we're talking about gym PTs again, they're sitting in the office, the staff room, and there are people going in going, I've not had a sign up now for 2 weeks. Must be the cost of living crisis. And there's another 5 PTs sitting there thinking, fuck, there is a cost of living crisis. Now, there is a cost of living crisis, but not everybody's in that. There's people who still have money to buy, or they value their health enough that they're willing to put money aside for that. Don't get me wrong, there's bloody poor people as well. I used to be one of them. I come from that background, so I'm not stupid enough to say that there's not people in the UK struggling, but that's not what you're doing in your business. Your business isn't to go and help the poor get fed. And that sounds quite harsh, but that's not your job. That's the government's job to do that. That's what they're supposed to do. You run a fitness business that helps, not a fitness business, that's the wrong phrase. You run an accountability results and community business, right?
Yeah.
And you help people change their lives. So the cost of crisis living doesn't matter. Because like I said earlier, there's maybe 30, 40 people in your area who do have money and who would sign up. But if you have that mindset of there's a cost of living crisis, you're not going to give your all marketing. You're not going to give your all in every call you do with someone, because in the back of your head, you've already thought they'll probably not get money. You've just sold yourself out the sale.
Yeah, you can hear it when we review sales calls now and again
mate.
as well. Like, I can hear when someone's got a defeatist attitude and they're already anticipating a no. And it's embarrassing because we need to sort that out. And it's not, a diss at them. It's something that we really need to just have that, and simple things I always say to people: do your phone calls standing up, do it with good posture.
Yep.
Don't do them lying down or like slumped or anything like that, because that comes across as well. Have high energy and really talk to people like you want to help them, because that's the big difference. Like, this is a massive step for these people signing your application form. And, it's our obligation to help these people, because we know the alternative is they're not really going to improve. If they don't sign up with us, they're probably not going to sign up with anyone, because nobody can help them like we can help them. And if they do, again, the likelihood is they're not going to get satisfied with the results. So you really need to make sure that when you are speaking to these people and working with these people, that, again, you know your product, and it goes back to that.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to something that maybe we've done in an old podcast, we probably have. But for me, if you're comparing yourself to others, and now everybody's going to do it at some point, but if you're doing it a lot, it's probably because you don't have enough focus and enough purpose on what you're doing right now. Otherwise, you're too busy to be looking at other people's Instagrams, looking at other people in the gym. You're too busy. If you've got millions of time in your hand, the first thing you're going to do is just start scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a mission and a purpose to have a gym, more clients, small group PT, more online clients, whatever it looks like, if that's your true mission, you're not really concerned about what other people are doing. Now, one of the things that I'm sure we're both good at now, mate, I don't look at any other kind of mentor stuff now, whereas I used to all the time. When we first started doing this, I would always check to see what they were doing because they must be doing better than us. They must have something that we don't know about, but it wasn't. And I just started taking them all off Instagram, and now I don't even care.
Yeah.
Some people might actually say to me, "Oh, did you see what this guy done?" I'm like, no, because now I don't care. But when I was insecure and I was comparing myself to others, I would go and do it, and then I would feel bad about our business. And I think that's what PTs do when they're comparing themselves to other PTs. Why does that guy get 30 clients? Why does he get 50 clients online, charging £700? Because he's done it for ages. You're years behind, and that's all right. You can catch them in a space of time with the right strategies, the right support, and the right help. But they've done the reps. That's the biggest difference. Nobody just starts in a week and be like, "God, I'm selling £700 online PT now." Doesn't happen like that. No. That's not how it works. You put the graft in, you put the reps in, you practice all your calls, you practice marketing, you get amazing at all that shit, and you go, how many phone calls have we done? Jesus, man. For sales for the gym, thousands,
plus, like
easily. And that's why it's so smooth. That's it. It's not like we're super geniuses.
Yeah,
we do phone calls and then we review our sell and say, I fucked it on that bit. I fucked it on that bit. You'll put this on Instagram. We'll be beaten all the time.
That's fine.
And it's just it is the reps. Obviously, if you're repping in the wrong direction, you'll just keep doing the wrong things. It's not about just like practice makes perfect. That's not true. Because if you're practicing the wrong stuff, it's never going to be any good, because you'll just keep practicing the wrong shit. You're not getting feedback, you're not getting reviews, you're not getting told, here's where you went wrong, here's what you can improve on next time.
One of my old PE teachers always used to get on at people if you said practice makes perfect. He always used to say practice makes permanent.
Yeah,
that was his phrase he always used, because you could be practicing doing the wrong strategy and then end up with the wrong strategy, and it doesn't work. So you got to make sure that you're practicing on the right things, the things that are actually going to move your business forward and your mindset forward. And one of the people that I was massive on at the gym was Gary Vaynerchuk at the start. I used to like consume his stuff like non-stop. Like I was addicted to the content that he spoke about, and a lot of it resonated with me a lot, just around mindset and self-belief and confidence and like being yourself, self-awareness, like all these key ingredients that you need to, not just be successful, but just to like live a fulfilled life.
Yep.
And like I used to watch hours of content every day, and just like it kind of just became like the way I spoke and stuff. And then over time I needed to think for myself, and I needed to put my own stamp on things as well. Now, when we started the mentorship, we're the kind of guys that just start stuff and we'll learn as we go. So when we started the mentorship, like going back to Chris's earlier point, we would just compare to other people because we needed to find our version and find our feet. So we would need to kind of jump around and see, right, I don't really like what they're doing. Oh, that's quite good. How can we put our own version, our own stamp on that?
Yeah.
And over time, and again, that's because we didn't really have clarity on what we were doing. Now that we have clarity on what we're doing, it's like silence. Like there's no noise anywhere else, because I know what we need to do in order to grow things and to help the people we need to help. And again, that takes time. It does take time.
Think about a coach like Abby, like we said earlier. She has her own gym now. She opens up on the 1st of April. How many people do you think she's comparing herself right now? She's so busy opening up one of her big dreams, the gym.
Yeah, she's not got time.
How many people is she looking at and going, oh man, I wish I had that. Wish I was doing that. No, she's, for lack of a better term, Glaswegian, she's ball deep in the mission that she's
Wonder if that'll bleep. I don't think it will.
Oh, there you go, ball deep, let's say it again. She's ball deep in the mission, mate. So she's not giving a rat's ass about anybody left or right, anybody straight ahead, anybody behind her. She's too focused on herself. I think that's the biggest thing that we can give on this podcast today is, and we've spoken about it before, and I'm always going to speak about it. You need to find your mission and your passion, and then anybody else's mission and passion doesn't matter. Unless it's your loved ones, which is cool. You're not comparing against them. Anybody that's in your industry, they don't matter, because you're solely focused on that. Like Michael Jordan, one of the best basketball player of all time. Who was he comparing himself to? Nobody. He was on a mission to be the best of all time.
Yeah.
And he is.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Well, we hope you got value from that, because I think there's, we could talk about this all day long, but I think we'd just be repeating ourselves, because a lot of the same things would come up again and again and again. But yeah, keep that nice and concise, and I think that keep it simple and be patient would be the last things I'd say with this. Like, don't beat yourself up because you are comparing or doing these things we're talking about. Be kind to yourself and think, right, and start being clever about it. Like Chris says, like take time out, start writing notes and start, figuring out, being self-aware enough to know when you're getting triggered and when you're calm and when you're most productive and when you're not, and all these things, because we're not one or the other. We've got a mix of both.
And that's what self-development is. When you spoke about you consuming a lot of Gary Vee's content, there's a time for that as well. If you need to take a big, massive step in your journey with growth, you probably should consume somebody like that if that's what you like to hear, because that would have done you no harm at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just took you to very high places, and then you started adapting into your own style. There's definitely like a time and place to just consume somebody who you're really into, who's done well for themselves.
Yeah. There's one last point I want to make on this because it's really important, and it helped me a lot again, is, Dr. John Demartini is a human behavior expert, and he talks about this thing all the time, and I love it. The first time he said it just resonated with me. It was like, why am I always stressed? Or like, why am I always like, you could pick any kind of emotion or feeling. Why am I always this or why am I always that? And he said, for every time you're one side, you've got an equal amount of times that you're the other side. You're just blind to the upside or the downside. So if you're going through something that you think the world's going to end, I guarantee you can make a list of all the positives that could come out of that same situation. So if you were to say to someone like, you're always kind, you're never mean, you're always nice, you're never, horrible, you're always calm, you're never stressed, like you're always one side or another, I'd be like, I'm not that all the time.
Yep.
But same the other way, you're always stressed, you're never calm, you're always in your own land, like you're never present. Not all the time. Everyone's got balance. The only reason you would get to one side than the other is because you're blind to the other side. So the one way to do that is if you're finding that, you're constantly stressed with a situation, look at the upside to the situation as well. Write a list of 10 things of why this could be a benefit. Like when we first got we're looking into our first gym, we had knockback after knockback with planning and parking and all these things. Now, because we kind of had a solid mindset at that time frame, like we very quickly saw the benefits of it, and we're like, well, maybe it's not meant to be. Actually, maybe the boot camp wouldn't have worked indoors with 100 people. Maybe we'd have lost money. Maybe all these things. And actually, it turned out to be one of the best things that happened to us. Yeah. Whereas that could have broke a lot of people. Getting turned down for the gym that they've always wanted could have stopped people from being in that industry. So just one last kind of piece I wanted to leave people with is that's something that, again, really helped me over time and something that's always stuck with me.
Love it. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it, team, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.